Yvonne? She's there. Is Yvonne supposed to be doing this? Is Yvonne supposed to be doing this?
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention? Good evening, everybody. My pleasure to introduce this session to you. And unfortunately, we're starting late. I have been kind of hesitant to say it's our mistake, but hopefully you will forgive us for the delay in starting this program. The next session will be the treatment of women in Christianity and Islam. And I'll be the moderator for this session. My name is Hamid Ghazali. This session will have 10 minutes presentation instead of 15 minutes, since we have more discussions involved. We'll have 10 minutes presentation by each side. And then we'll have 14 minutes of interactive dialogue, and then 40 other minutes the discussants will come over here and make comments and interact with the rest of the panelists, and then we'll have the audience participation in the last half an hour. We have in this session on the Christian side Dr. Lewis Livesey, who is a professor of Christian ethics and dean of the doctoral program at McCormick Theological Seminary, author of several books and papers, among which A Christian Vision of Sexual Justice, Theological Reflections on Violence Against Women, Woman, Power, and Politics. And there are a couple of other books. If you're interested, you can talk to her, and we'll be happy to give you a piece of paper that includes all the biography about her. And then we also have Sister Jean Hughes. She's working for the 8-Day Center for Justice, working on human rights issues. She has a BS from Siena Heights College, an MA in Systematic Theology from Aquinas Institute. She's an educator and a community organizer. She's an Adrian Dominican sister. She lived and worked for 17 years in Latin America, and we're glad to have her with us today. On the Muslim side, we have Sister Ayesha on our extreme left over here. She's a teacher at Al-Ghazali Islamic School in New York. She has a master's degree in comparative literature from Pennsylvania State University, and taught in high school for 2 years in Turkey and 5 years in Germany. She's working on a master's degree in comparative religion. She's comparing Islamic law to Western law and issues pertaining to women. She's a Muslim since 1985, and you will find her experience unique for the topic that we are discussing today. And then we have Dr. Jamal Badawi with us over here, who is a professor at St. Mary's University in Halifax, Canada. He has extensive experience in religious dialogue. He's a producer of more than 200 TV programs on Islam. These programs are aired almost all around the Muslim world. He's the president of the Islamic Information Foundation, member of the FIQH, or the Islamic Law Council of North America, which is the highest authority in terms of giving Islamic verdicts in different Islamic issues, and taught courses on Islam in several universities. He's also an author of several papers on Islam, among which are the bridge building between Christianity and Islam and women in Islam. We will start with the presentation from the Muslim side. If you please come in, Sister Ayesha. You have to speak aloud. I'll give you that one for now. That one, keep it in there. I'll be around watching over. I don't like to stand still with the podium. You forgive me.
As I began to contemplate a short presentation for this particular dialogue, I was first beset with the problem of exactly what I could say in the midst of scholars whom I personally admired for quite a while and whose books and articles I have frequently read. Certainly I can't contend with their scholarly expertise nor with their ability to read and to comprehend Arabic, most especially the language of the Quran. But I do have a perspective on this particular issue of women in Islam that I'm quite sure my other distinguished colleagues don't have. At least I don't think so. I was a Christian and a secular humanist for more than 30 years before I converted. Therefore, I can speak, at least personally, about the influence of Christian thought and belief upon the life of a person raised in a very conservative Christian fundamentalist home, a home in which the literal authority of the Bible was not only believed but practiced and firmly taught. I memorized Bible verses, read church commentary, theology through most of my life. I questioned and debated heatedly with my grandfather, the church elders, my Sunday school teachers, and anyone else in earshot about my personal doubts and questions concerning God, who He was, what He was, the accuracy of the Bible, the mystery of the Trinity, and the mystery of countless other philosophies that I did not understand. I was termed a difficult child and was pronounced by my grandfather bound for hell before I was in the second grade. After my conversion, 1985-86, when I began to understand what the Quran was about, I really decided that Allah knew what He was talking about when He said that we are born a Muslim and it is our parents who make us a Jew or a Christian. Because what Islam was able to do for me was to give a concrete foundation to many things I had thought or suspected were probably true, but nobody ever told me about. Islam answered the questions that I had and answered them in a very rational type of package. I think the most significant point to make about the rights of women in Islam is that they are God-given. They are specifically stated in very direct terms in the Holy Quran as revealed by Allah. I do not have to decide generally which church fathers to follow or who to interpret or who hated women less or which one was proven wrong later on. God has said what I can do, what I should not do, and what I'm accountable for. And I'm not accountable for anything else. So I do not carry the guilt of the world upon my shoulders. I don't need a mortal man to decide for me, to restrict me, or to liberate me. It has been done more than 1,400 years ago. Before I get specific about these rights, let me stop here momentarily and make a point very clear. And this was a point that Dr. Badawi brought up earlier this morning. While God has granted women their rights in the Quran, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, has further clarified them in the Sunnah, it remains true that throughout the world, often Muslim men and women are guilty of being ignorant about those rights or being unaware that what they practice is cultural tradition, not Islam. Therefore, this cultural tradition is open to debate, it's open to criticism, and even rejection if it is not in line with the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him. The fact remains, however, that as long as a woman can stand by the Quran and by the Sunnah, she can defend her rights, and she has them. They cannot be taken away. If they're taken away, she has a right to fight to get them back. In defense, however, of my Muslim brothers, I would like to point out that despite the dominant image in many parts of the Middle East of what I would call cultural paternalism, cultural patriarchy, and all of the rest, I would never conceive the possibility that any group of imams or sheikhs or other religious officials would ever convene a council